Welcome back to Irish Strength Training. I know it's been a while. I'm really sorry. I've definitely gone AWOL over the last couple of months. So I will explain why. But also this video is mainly because I've made a pretty big decision on my strongman training regime going forward and my competing. So I'm going to go through that with you as well. But firstly, I will go through why I've disappeared over the last couple of months. So there's a few reasons for this. Number one is that I have been finishing up my degree in university. So I know I look about 20 years old and I'm finishing off my degree. I went to it late, okay? I don't need to say it, I'm not 20. But the exams were on and it was a really stressful time, as you can imagine. So finally finished up with that. I think I've passed. We'll find out in a couple of months. I'll keep you posted. But keep your fingers crossed for me, okay? So that took up an awful lot of time. At the same time, I was moved down to Galway, so on the west coast of Ireland, for work. So that took up an awful lot of my time. It's about an hour and a half from here, nearly 2 hours. And that really made it very difficult to train properly. So I was living down there, and the only training I was getting was in a normal commercial gym, which if anybody is doing strongman and you're trying to train in a normal commercial gym, you will understand the difficulty. You're not going to get a log, for instance, to do log press. You're not going to get an axle bar. You're not going to get a monster dumbbell, or yoke walk, farmer's walk, any of that. You're not actually going to get any of that equipment normally anyway in a commercial gym. So this caused an awful lot of problems with trying to keep up with the strongman events. It was a real struggle to try and adapt my training. So as a result, wasn't really getting to train any of the strongman events. I was getting deadlift, I was getting squat, that sort of stuff, but not really strongman specific events. Now thankfully that's coming to an end, where I am going to be back up here. I'm back in the man cave with all of the strongman equipment. So I am absolutely delighted. I'm really excited to get back training properly. I've been back at it for a couple of weeks now, and I'm already seeing huge progress. So I'm really excited for what's coming up. The other things that caused a few problems were I had a couple of personal issues and a couple of medical setbacks, but COVID hit me very hard. I know there's an awful lot of people out there that have had COVID, most of us at this stage, and a lot of people don't have a huge amount of after effects. It hit me pretty hard when I had it first, but also afterwards, where my appetite for the 6 weeks after COVID just hit the ground. Where I'd normally be on 4,500-5,000 calories, I was struggling to get in 2,000 calories, which obviously means that your training really suffers because you just don't have the energy to actually do the training. So that was a big problem. Now, I have seen, now that I've got back to pretty much 100%, my appetite's back pretty much, I've already started to see huge jumps in the training. So I'm feeling really good. Maybe it was a little blessing in disguise, that 6 weeks where I wasn't pushing myself right to the limit because of all of the reasons I've just explained. And maybe silver lining is that it gave me a good rest. The central nervous system completely recovered, and maybe that's why I'm seeing the jumps now. It's hard to know, but possibly 6 weeks is a very long break. So anybody out there, don't take 6 weeks off. But I feel like maybe I'm just looking for the positives, but I feel like maybe it was a little bit of a help. So getting past that and moving to the decision that I've made for the strongman training. So one of the things that I'm quite new to strongman. I'm a year and a half, maybe a little bit more of actually training strongman, probably about 2 years. Powerlifting before that, but strongman is a completely different ball game. I will say it's a lot tougher. Powerlifting, you know exactly what you've got to do because you've 3 moves and you've been doing them since you start powerlifting. Whereas strongman, you continually put up against new events that you might not have done before, that you won't have access to the implements. So it's a very, very tough sport. And as a result, it takes a long time to get really comfortable, especially with the core moves. So when I say core moves, I'm talking about your yoke walk, your farmer's walk, your log press, your axle press, of course your deadlift and your squat, and your front carries. They're your core moves for strongman. Now they take quite a while to build up and get to a really comfortable level at, where I would feel like I'm at a fairly comfortable level, but I haven't maximized my potential on those. I will always tell people to do competitions. Competitions are brilliant. So you gain so much experience, you meet a lot of really cool people doing it, and you learn an awful lot from it. And it will really keep the motivation up for doing strongman, because you're using the skills that you're practicing. So if you're getting good at your log press, to a point you want to show that off. You want to see how you can do against the other athletes, rather than, at the end of the day, you're competing against yourself, but it's nice to compete against other people as well. And I will always tell people, do competitions, do competitions. However, the problem with doing competitions, if you do too many of them, now I was signed up for maybe 6, or I plan to do 6, 7 competitions this year, which was basically one every couple of months. Now the problem there is that you've got those core moves, and if you're just at a normal enough level with those core moves, and then you start doing competitions, especially one every couple of months, you get a set of events, and they go, right, they're your events, they're your weights, start working on them. And you start training those events. You're focused on them, and 7 weeks of actual training, and then the 8 week is the competition. So 7 weeks, you start getting used to the implement, start getting used to the move, you start making a little bit of progress, and you go, right, I'm getting there, I'm nearly at the level I need to for the competition, and I'm starting to make progress. You do the competition, and then suddenly you go, oh, here's the next set of events for the next competition. And you go, oh God, right, but I was just getting used to those other ones. I was just getting used to my Viking press, but I'm not doing Viking press in the next 2 or 3 competitions. So Viking press gets pushed to the back, and you probably won't do that for 4, 6 months maybe. And this is what happens. So you've got a certain set of events, you start getting used to them, then you get a next set of events, and those first events, they get pushed down the list, or possibly get pushed off the list completely, and you have to work on the new ones. It doesn't give you the opportunity to really get skilled at a particular event. It's very tough, because you're constantly changing. Even your big events, like say your log press. If your log press is one of the main ones, but if you don't have log press in the next 2 events, and you've got an axle press or something like that, if your log press, if you're still learning on your log press, you're still trying to gain experience on it, but then you don't use it for 4 months, or you use it as a sort of supplementary move well down the list, you're not really becoming, as good as you could do at log press. So my new plan, I have dropped out of the next 3 competitions, with the one that's just passed last week. And I probably won't sign up to a competition now until October, November. What I'm planning to do is bring it back, work purely on the core events, not purely on the core events, but they're my main purpose, is build those core events up. Because once you have those core events worked and get them up to a really high level, then it becomes a lot easier to transition into doing other events. So for instance, if you've got your log press and you've got it at a really high level, and they say, right, there's Viking press, it's very easy to transition over. However, if your log press is just at a normal, standard enough level, and you're not really 100% at it, and they go, right, you Viking press, it nearly feels like you're starting from scratch with Viking press, and you're trying to build that up, and that will only go to the same level, the sort of standard level, and then you're switching to something else, and you get that to a standard level. So it's a constant juggling, and I feel like for myself, I want to progress in the sport. At the moment, I can stick with what I'm doing, keep doing the competitions, and I believe I will stay at the upper end of novice competitions. I'll always, I would imagine, be somewhere, I don't want to be cocky, but I'll be somewhere top 5, top sort of 7, that sort of number, or position. That's not where I want to be, okay? That's brilliant, and that's incredible for anyone out there. That's a great target to have. For myself, I want more than that. I really want to push myself. I think I can go higher in the sport. Professional, I'm very old now at this stage to be getting into strongman, so I'm not thinking professional or anything like that. I have a bit of realism in my head. However, I think I can do more than what I'm doing. So I could continue what I'm doing and stay in that top end of novice, or I think I can do this, pull back from the competitions, focus purely on my training and the core moves, and build them up to a really good level. And then I think I can take the next jump in the strongman sport. So that is my plan. I've pulled out competitions, focusing on the training, focusing on the core moves. So like I say, I've got a weight carrying day, which is a big day. It's a tough, long day. I'll throw up a video of it the next time I'm doing it, which should be this week or this weekend. So it has yoke walk, farmer's walk, it's got Husvel stone carry, and it's got a carry and drag medley. So keg, sandbag, and a drag sled. So there are a lot of strongman events in that day. It's a really tough day. That's the big day. Then I've got my log press. I've got axle press on a separate day. I've got my deadlift, of course, and on the deadlift day I've got Atlas stones as well. So they're the core moves for strongman, and that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm staying focused on. So I will be throwing up the different training days, so stay posted on that. But I've also planned to put up an awful lot more tutorials. So I know a lot of people were missing the tutorials, so I will get them up fairly soon now that I'm back training properly. So thanks for joining me, guys. If you do have any questions on my training, or please feel free to give me your opinion on what I'm doing. I think it's the right choice, but again, it's all an individual thing. So I don't know what your opinions would be on pulling away from the competitions and working purely on training. Might be a bad idea. We'll find out. I think it's probably going to be good for me. It's taken a lot of pressure off. Where, God, when you have to hit numbers for competitions, no one wants to go to a competition and zero an event. It's one of those things where anybody going to a competition, you should never feel embarrassed if you zero an event. You have to keep in mind, these are huge weights that you're doing. They're supernatural stuff, but it takes a lot of training, and you put in an awful lot of effort, and there's an awful lot of events to try and cover. So anybody out there that does do a competition, if you do zero an event, don't worry about it. Jeez, like, you can't be top class at all of the different events, but that's the worry, that's the fear. Nobody wants to zero an event. So if you've suddenly got events that you don't have the implements, or you haven't been able to train, it adds in so much pressure. And that's compounded when you have got to a certain level. And again, I don't want to sound full of myself or cocky here, but if you get to a level where you're finishing top 3 in events, or top 5 in events, if you suddenly go, well, I haven't got to train, I think I'm going to end up in 15th or 20th place because I just haven't got to train, and I feel like it's going to be an absolute disaster. That creates a huge amount of pressure. And it's one of the things I'm as soon as I made the decision to withdraw from those competitions, I felt a huge relief. And I've seen it in my training. That might not be the reason why I'm seeing progress in my training now, but I do feel it probably is a little aspect towards it, because it's just a weight off the shoulders. I feel an awful lot more relaxed in my training. So again, let me know if anybody out there has done the same thing, where you've moved away from competitions, you've gone purely to the training side of things, let me know if it's worked for you. And I'll keep you posted all the way through, guys. You'll see whether I'm making progress or whether I'm making backward steps, but I'm fairly optimistic about what I'm seeing in the training so far. So anyway, a lot of rambling in there. Thanks for watching, guys. Please, like I say, comment down below, like the video. Please subscribe if you can. It really helps the channel keep going. And I'll see you in the next one.